G'day everyone, I'm Brett and welcome back to Reliance Australia. So in last week's video, took the balustrade off the back deck, and this week I'm going to be following on from that where I've cut the posts off at the deck level. I'm actually now taking those boards up, cutting down even lower so I can put new boards over the top, and so that way it's a nice clean flush finish ready for the new pool fencing to go in. Hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. So before I could start trimming those posts back down to under the deck height, like under the height of the boards themselves, I first had to take the boards up, as that sort of makes a little bit of sense, doesn't it? So look, the same tools, this is the same day as when I took the balustrade off. So you see the little wrecking bar that I used, hammer, and basically I just pried in from the edge of it and then just lifted it up, because it's only really a couple of nails that are hanging those boards or holding those boards on. So look, getting into it with a sawzall there. Who doesn't love a good cutting saw? That's got some grunt behind it, but look, it just did the job really well. And by taking the boards up, I was able to get into it and just trim down below the level of the boards, and then come back over the top of it with some nice, clean, fresh boards. But look, that sawzall definitely did the job. And look, there's a couple of times where I had to, like you saw there, do a bit of a vertical cut down, so I could get into it and get a bit of a better angle. But overall, really happy with the way the tools performed. So you can see, here's a close-up of the post I've now just cut down, but what you can really see is that there's a lot of timber for me to nail the new boards onto. So I've got all of those joists I can nail into. I've got this outer board I will be nailing into. There's a spot just there where you can see where I've cut the old boards, and there's a bit of joist just there actually, and that'll allow me to nail right at the very end of the new boards, and then nail again onto that outer rail there for the new decking boards. But just heaps of timber, great spot, a lot of support underneath them as well, so ended up being really easy to put the new boards on. So the next job I've got is to replace this decking boards here and also up there. You see I've got an old board already in place there, but that's just actually somewhere to keep that board. But so now I need to go through, measure it. I'll go up the shed, cut it, because I've got a drop saw up there. Like it's just a little portable one, nothing huge or flash. And that'll make life a bit simpler. So I'll measure up here and I'll go up there and cut it up and bring it back and put it all in. So the trap in measuring up for these boards is that they're cut on an angle. So you do need to measure for the longest edge and not the shortest edge. And also, old trick, measure twice, cut once. So just measuring up at the shed. And look, I think one of the things I've tried to put through on the channel, like I know I've bought some expensive tools for this particular job, but look, that drop saw is not a super expensive tool, and I think, you know, you can actually get by with a lot of stuff that you already have without going out and having to purchase a lot of expensive gear. And look, it does the job and gets it done for the amount of time I need to use it. So here I'm just putting the boards on, and you might notice that I've got a drill. And so what I'm doing is pre-drilling the holes to put the nails in. So you don't want the holes to be bigger than the nails, but what it does, it just prevents the end of the timber splitting. Especially for me, I was nailing it right at the very end of the boards, and quite often it's very easy to split the timber when you're nailing that close to the end. So pre-drilling those holes prevents that from happening and get a nice clean finish. So there we go, that's the next step done. So those two gaps I had, and got a length of Merbau decking. That's what we use over here in Australia, mostly for our decks is Merbau. And it's interesting because underneath you'll see, that's not good, I just dropped a nail into the grass. But anyway, you see these ridges, and the idea is that when you put the deck down and the water seeps in underneath, it doesn't sit there between the board and the joists underneath, because I've got the grooves there. The water is meant to wick away and stop that rot in the timber. But anyway, look, I'm happy I've got those two done, because over the next, probably tomorrow night after work, I'll cut those off, and then that'll be finished. And I'll do something similar to what I've done in the past, like actually what I did over here. If you're wondering what that meat's for, the feeding the kookaburras generally come in of an evening, but they haven't tonight for some reason. But just here I'll put tape, and I cut to the tape, and I'll do something similar here. I'll put tape along with that line, as you can clearly see on the edge of the deck with the other boards. Then I'll get the saw out and chop it off. So prep work is a big part of getting the job done nicely, and for me, using the tape to get that nice straight edge is just a nice simple way of doing it. You know, yeah, sure, you could get a ruler out and get a pencil, but look, the tape's just easier to see, especially when it's fairly bright and fairly wide. Makes the job easier. Yeah, ever get the feeling that you're being watched? So this is one of the little birdies that's come down to supervise what I'm doing. But this is a king parrot. So this is the male king parrot. So the males are very bright. The females are like a green head down to the chest, when then turns red. And these guys come in and they'll actually follow you around the property if they think they're going to get some food. Literally, they'll sit up in the gutter and follow you around. I've even had them follow me up to the shed, but they're beautiful birds. Pretty happy with that. As you saw, I just put the tape down and cut it with a circular saw. Gets the same angle, and pretty happy with that result. So the next step is cleaning this deck, because I want to get this all cleaned up. There's a treatment we put on the deck which revitalizes it, gets all the moss and all the dirt out of it. But before I can do that, also I need to move a few things, clean it up. So the treatment that I'm going to be using is wood clean. You mix it with 1:4 ratio. Looks like the bees like it. Like I didn't squish that because I thought it was a fly that would have stung. Mix it in a bucket, and I've got one that can fit the broom in. So basically you just apply it with a stiff bristle broom or brush. Scrub it on, keep the deck moist. Yep, I'm gonna move that. And I'm actually going to go around here as well. So I've put the cleaner on. Got some friends helping. It's going for a free feed, really, aren't you, mate? But as you can see, I've still got a bit of moss on some of those boards, and actually that sits normally underneath that table, so it's not getting the sun during winter. Now short of sanding that or going for another coat, not too sure what I'll do with that one just at the moment. See how we go. But the rest of it's actually come up pretty good. I know it's still a bit wet, so you can't really see it, but you can start to see that some of the colour starting to lift out of it now already, and that's only after about 40 minutes of it being applied. So basically what happens is that you wet the deck, you apply the cleaner, let it sit on the timber for 20 minutes, keeping it moist, just a light mist over the top so it doesn't dry out, and then wash it off, and then we should be good to go. So there you go, another job done. Actually, there's a couple of jobs done in that video. So replacing the boards, getting them fitted, cut down and matched back in, but also then cleaning the deck and having it prepared for the oiling. And so that video is also out on the channel where I've had to oil the deck. That's already done. But also this particular video is a follow-on, as I said at the start, from the Demolition Time where I took the balustrade off. So happy I was able to do that. So look, the quote I think for that, taking the balustrade off, was up to around about $1,500. Just to be able to take that balustrade off and then put that decking board back on. So look, I was able to save a fair bit of money just by doing it myself. Even though it cost me a bit to buy some of the tools, they're tools I now have for life, and I can use them around the property at any stage, especially because they're battery powered. I can literally take them around, and that Milwaukee Sawzall has enough power to trim small branches, probably even big branches for that matter. It's got a lot of grunt behind it. But look, very handy tool, very versatile tool that I was able to purchase specifically to do that job, but now I'll be able to use it around the property for many, many other jobs and for a long time to come. So there you go. Very happy with the result. So if you like that, please give us a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, really appreciate the subscribers. It helps build and grow the channel. Until next week, I'll see you then.